The Christmas tree is the centrepiece for homes across the country during the festive period. But how much do you really know about them? This film will not only help you decide what to buy, but you can also amaze your family and friends with fir facts and spruce secrets.
That tree there is an absolutely awful tree, and I hate to show it to you on the camera, but that is what Christmas trees look like if you don't do all the work to them.
Let's start big. Peter Hyde from Trinity Street Christmas Trees has been farming trees in Dorset for 35 years.
Is there any money in it, growing these big trees? Probably not, but they're like my babies. I actually don't want to cut them down anyway. I get really attached to them, especially some beautiful ones. You get stuff like this and it's looking so perfect. Let me show you something else.
Yeah. He grows all shapes and sizes, but we're starting with the ones that won't fit on the roof rack. These are all 15 years old.
Two different trees here. That's a Norway spruce and that's a Nordman fir. They're both what I would call premium grade trees, really lovely shapes. And there's slightly different techniques. So this one here, with a Norway spruce, we cut the top of the tree every single year, and that's how we stop it growing. So when you see trees in fact, that's a pretty rubbish tree. That's what we call a third grade tree. Do you see how gappy it is? That's because we haven't done the good leader control during its life. And what you're trying to do with these trees, as I mentioned earlier, is we're trying to stunt the growth of the tree downwards and bring it in sideways. And by that, what you're doing is actually making a fuller, denser tree. So this one's gone wrong. There aren't many like that in here now because they've all gone over the years. But that tree there, which is exactly the same variety, is nice and full. And it's nice and full because we've spent 15 years, or the last probably 10 years of 15 years, pruning it and shaping it every single year to create a really nice dense shape.
Okay.
But the other technique with these ones, which is a traditional Norway spruce, is slightly different. We actually cut the top and it grows a new leader every year. Whereas these ones, we put a special chemical on the top, a growth hormone, to actually stop it growing. And that's the only way we get these shapes. So massive amount of work goes into these big trees.
Wow. Okay. Are you able to give me a ballpark as to how much these trees, what the councils are paying?
It's quite complicated because a big part of these trees is about the actual transport and the erection and put it in the hole. So it's quite a complex question to answer depending on geography and the nature of the installation. But a big tree like that is, you know, that once installed and put in the hole and chocked and delivered, is probably likely to be over £2,000, to be honest, for something like that. So quite a lot of money. But when you see the work that's gone into it, it all makes sense. And these are not easy to extract.
That's probably below the minimum wage, I reckon, by the time you've done your...
Oh God, yeah, definitely. No, without a shadow of doubt. But I don't want to cut that because it's just gorgeous, isn't it? And I just keep looking at it and just watching it look even better every single year, which is really weird, isn't it, when I'm actually growing them to sell? But there you go.
But the thing is, it's the amount of time, the investment in that product, to put it coldly, the investment in that living thing, and you've created that. You know, it wouldn't look like that if you'd let that just grow. No, if you let it grow, it will look like that tree behind you, which is really gappy. Whereas, you know, so... But it's a great thing. It's really, you know, it's a lovely thing to be able to grow something. And the difference with Christmas trees compared to lots of other products, when you think about it, is that you are actually making people smile at Christmas. You're bringing loads of pleasure to people at Christmas. I have people phone me up sometimes on Christmas Eve and you know, after they've had a whiskey and got all emotional and tell me how fantastic their tree is in their living room. It's the best one ever and thank you so much. And that's why I love Christmas trees. Right. Difference between that one and that one. Why would you choose one over the other? It's purely aesthetics? What's the... Yeah, in terms of smaller trees, most people go for Nordman fir. So the biggest part of the market in the UK is Nordman fir and Fraser fir. Not many people put a Norway spruce inside. Some people put a Norway spruce inside because they're traditionalists. As a kid, that's what I would have had. Exactly. And then your parents would have moaned because they would be hoovering up needles for 6 months afterwards. And also in the old days, we weren't so good at putting trees in stands and watering them. So that inside, not such a good idea because it's a spruce. Spruce drop needles
firs don't. So if Nordman fir, Fraser fir and the likes, then they don't drop their needles. And that's why when I started selling Christmas trees 35 years ago, 90% of my trees I sold were spruce and 10% Nordman. Now, 90% of the trees we sell are Nordman and 10% spruce.
Okay.
And that's all about quality and what the public want.
Another question for you, very important for me at Christmas, is it smells Christmassy, and I don't get the scent that I used to, I don't think, as a child, from a spruce or from a fir or whatever it's going to be called in my living room. Why is that?
Because Nordman fir don't really smell. And we'll go to another plantation and I'll show you the difference between a Fraser fir, which has the benefit of smelling nice and is a non-drop tree because it's a fir, and also the Norway spruce and the Nordman. But basically Nordman don't smell very much at all. They don't have that aroma. But I will show you a Fraser fir in one of the other fields.
From the 20-footers to a field full of more SUV-friendly trees.
This is a Fraser fir which smells absolutely gorgeous. It needs a bit more work to it. And you see these branches here need to be cut off, and we'll bring it round. But it's not going to be ready this year anyway. And you can see also we've done some work here to bend up one of the other side branches.
Oh, you've got tape on there.
So we've taped that up, which is basically making this area here more dense. So all the time we're trying to create this very full tree all the way up to the top. But if you do that with a tree, and I urge people to do this when they're buying a tree, is just rub your fingers through that and smell it. So that is such an amazing, citrusy, lovely, sweet Fraser fir smell. So if you want something in your living room which is going to give you smell as well, then a Fraser fir is a good product. But they do need a lot of work. I mean, that tree there looks absolutely like some Martian at the moment, but by the time that comes to harvest, which is probably 4 years away, it's been pruned and the leader's been cut. By the time it comes to harvest, it will be a gorgeous tree.
Peter grades them into 4 categories: premium, standard, value, and if things haven't gone well, grotto level.
This tree here is a standard grade tree. So it's a standard grade tree just because it's a little bit more uneven on this side. It might be a little bit more gappy, it might have a leader which is a bit too long or a little bit lopsided. It will be standard. So it's got a fault on it, not a big fault. It's still an absolutely fantastic tree. And actually what most people sell is standard grade trees. It's only the right upper end of the market that is a premium grade tree. And a premium grade tree generally in the plantation might only be say 30%, and you might get like another 40% of these, and then you'll get even lower again. That actually is what we call a value grade tree. You know, it's a bit it's very gappy there. That was not a bad one, but it's very gappy there. It's a bit uneven, and that's a value grade. So I don't know whether it's as clear enough in the film here, but you know, the difference between premium, standard and value is a little bit subjective, but generally speaking, if it looks perfect, it's premium. But the value in wholesale terms is between that tree as a value grade and a premium grade is double the value.
Oh wow.
So you're talking about, in wholesale terms, the difference between, say, I don't know, say £17 and, well, almost, some of them are difference between £10 and £20, put it that way. So the only way you make any money from growing Christmas trees is if you increase the percentage of premium and standard trees.
And that means man hours.
And that's man hours, it's all the things we've talked about, all the techniques we use to make sure that you get a high yield of premium and standard trees. Anybody can grow third grade trees, or even grotto grade, which is even lower again.
Grotto grade.
Yeah, we got grotto grade. But grotto grade is basically, I'm looking for one and I can't see one, luckily there aren't hardly any in here. But a grotto grade is basically, it's a runt of the litter. Most people don't sell them, but we do have some places who want to create either a Christmas tree maze, or they want to create an alpine bar. We do quite a lot of alpine bars for people, where create a little winter wonderland, and they don't need anything. They just want some, you know, something to give a bit of foliage. So there is a home for even the grotto grade ones, but we don't intend to grow them at that grade because we would make a huge loss. Some of them have got windmills on, some of them have got bird perches on, some of them are just straight sticks. So birds have landed in the big trees behind. They've come down here and landed on the leader when it was soft, and it's actually snapped off the leader. which now means we've got a tree there with 3 leaders, and we've got to do some work to it next year to get one of those leaders to become the dominant leader. So we don't want to have to do that, and that's why we've put these sticks on. And as I said, I think I mentioned earlier, it's the Dorset Studio School come out and help us do that. You know, such a shame, because you might grow this tree and you've done all this work. I mean, this tree here, that's a premium grade tree coming out this year. It's a 200 to 225, so basically it's an 8-foot tree, and it's got quite a lot of retail value to that tree. And then, you know, if I leave it another year, it's going to be getting up towards a sort of 9-foot tree, 10-foot tree, and well, probably a 9-foot tree next year. And then I want to take it out, and a bird comes along and snaps the leader off. I've lost the tree.
Peter is clearly passionate about his Christmas trees, and if he's had the heart to cut any of them down, you can find them at tschristmastrees.co.uk. You won't find trees in the UK that are more cared for.